Hey everyone, Dan Mortimer with eXp Realty bringing you another weekly market update for Henderson in Las Vegas. I'm in a little bit of a different corner of my team's office building here, so apologize. The scenery is not quite as tropical or deserty as it usually is, but wanted to get you guys the data. So let's go ahead and jump into the last 7 days, see what's going on, and I'll give you my thoughts on it as well. In the last 7 days, we had 1,168 new listings. I've mentioned it before when we've done previous updates, kind of around the beginning of the month. I'm not too surprised that this number is quite a bit higher than what we've seen the last few weeks. For those that are new to the channel, I'll kind of explain it. So it's pretty common when a seller puts a listing up for sale, the contract that they put in place with their realtor, usually they set it to expire at the end of the month as opposed to being in the middle of the month. Not everybody does it, but generally speaking, if you listed the property, let's say back in October, you would set the contract to expire on April 30th, so it would expire on May 1st. What happens often is we see sellers that have their listing expire in the MLS, the multiple listing service, and then they will put the home back on the market. Sometimes it's with the same agent they were working with before, sometimes it's with a new agent, but they'll put that same listing that was already back on the market, or that was already on the market, expired, they'll put it back on. So we tend to see the number of new listings around the first of the month. We tend to see that quite a bit higher, and that's a big reason why. Now, it's not the case with every single listing, but generally speaking, that's why we see that bump around the end of the old month, the beginning of the new month. Now that we're into this date is as of Monday, May 5th. So 1,168 new listings. Sorry, that was a lengthy tangent for the data point. 1,168 new listings. We had 192 homes come back on the market. Buyer and seller had a deal in place. Deal fell apart for whatever reason. Property goes back on the market. 192 of those in the last week. We had 1,106 homes that had a price decrease of some kind. It could be $1, it could be $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, anywhere in between. 1,106 price decreases. Getting into the under contracts, we have 337 homes that went into under contract show status and another 465 that went into under contract no show status. So in total, you're talking about 802 that went into under contract compared to 1,168 new listings. So a little bit more of a gap. We'll see if that trend continues as we get further into May. Getting into the solds, we had 808 homes sold in the last 7 days. And we have another 95 that are put into coming soon status. Again, for those that are new to the channel, coming soon basically means it's kind of in a pre-marketing status on the MLS. It's labeled as coming soon. It means it'll be active on the MLS within the next 30 days or less. Usually it's quite a bit less. Usually you'll use coming soon while you're waiting for photos and things like that, but it still allows you to put it up there for other realtors to see. Now let's get into the active listing numbers. We're currently sitting on 6,626 single-family homes active on the market. We have 1,507 condos that are active and another 1,041 townhomes that are active on the market. So in total, you're looking at about a little over 9,100 total active listings just based on this data, and it ebbs and flows day by day as properties come off the market, come onto the market, whatever it may be. But very interesting to see. We're still seeing that inventory steadily climb, which is a good sign. I've mentioned it before. We're sitting on a little over 3 months of active inventory in our market. And basically how that's calculated is you take the number of active listings and then the number of sales each month, and basically the assumption is when you're calculating the supply, if we didn't put a single home on the market, how long would our current inventory last? And so you take that, you take the number of monthly sales, and you divide that into you take the active number, sorry, I got it flipped in my head. You take the active number of homes, divide that by the number of sales per month, and that's what gets you your supply. So we're sitting on a little more than 3 months worth of inventory, which, if you're looking at it from a broader perspective over the last several decades, it's still an indicator of a buyer's market. I think we've I don't know that I would necessarily consider this to be, or I'm sorry, not a buyer's market, a seller's market. I'm stumbling all over my words today. 6 months worth of inventory typically is a balanced market. If we have more than 6 months worth of inventory, that's considered a buyer's market. If we have less than 6 months worth of inventory, that is considered more of a seller's market. And historically, if you have 3 months or less of inventory, it's generally an indicator of a really aggressive sales market. Like sellers have all the leverage, homes are flying off the shelves. We have to adjust that a little bit for our situation right now, because yes, the inventory is at 3 months, but I wouldn't consider this a seller's market by any stretch. There may be pockets of the market where there is a ton of demand and homes are just flying and people can't keep them on the market, and buyers are scooping them up and you're getting multiple offers and things like that. But I would say generally speaking, it's much more of a balanced market right now. A lot of homes are sitting. We saw 1,106 price decreases over the last 7 days. So definitely an indicator that, to me, it's more of a healthy market. It's more balanced between buyers and sellers. We're not necessarily seeing sellers get way above and beyond their asking price, and we're seeing that buyers have a lot of options to choose from. But for the great homes, that are in the ideal communities, priced right, and all of that, they are still moving. So it definitely makes things a little bit more balanced, in my opinion, and that means it's a healthier market for buyers and sellers. I actually had an open house that I hosted this weekend, and one of the people that came through was asking about, is the market going to crash? What do you see? And one of the things that they brought up to me was they were wanting to sell their current home and buy something else, but they wanted to wait until a certain project was developed, or a certain in this case, it was a resort that was going to be going up kind of near them. And the advice that I gave them is something I kind of wanted to share with all of you, because a lot of people like to wait for something big like that to happen, because they think, well, I'm going to sell at the very top and I'm going to be able to, get the most for my home. And that's not a bad strategy at all. But the advice that I gave them was, well, if that's what you want to do, you have to understand that if you wait for the values to continue to go up and you wait for that project to be completed, that's not a bad thing, but it means that you're selling at the top and you're also buying at the top. And so you have to make sure that that's going to work for your finances, your monthly payments, your situation, and that all of that's going to come into play. You can't just see one end of the transaction and say, that's when I'll buy and sell, because you have to consider both factors. And so if you're in a situation like that, not everybody's going to have the exact same circumstances. And the advice that I give is not necessarily broad for every single person, but that's something I wanted you to think about, is if you're thinking about selling and buying, don't wait around for things to get to the top because you're going to be able to sell for top dollar. You also have to consider what things are going to look like on the purchasing side. Are you going to be selling in a hot market but also trying to buy in a hot market? That can be complicated. So when you're thinking about this process, think about the whole picture, not just one side of the story, because it's something that you have to consider from all sides. So I hope you guys got some value from this. I'm going to try to trim these down a little bit. I get super long-winded, my apologies, but I hope that you got some value from this. There are two ways that you can support this channel. You can subscribe. Be sure to like my videos. The more people that like and share these, the more my content gets out, the more people I can help. The other way that you can support this channel is I put a link in the description of this video with my contact information, as well as a link where you can set up a time to meet with me. We can do it over Google Meet. We can do it over the phone. We can do it in person, whatever you like. But it gives me a chance to get to know a little bit more about your situation, see what I can do to help, and we put a game plan in place to help you with your real estate goals, whether that's buying, selling, renting, getting into town, getting out of town, whatever it may be. So I'd love to connect with you and learn a little bit more about your situation, and that link allows us to set up a time to meet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you at the next one.